What up, Suns fans? The Suns are back, and I am back. It's your boy, Sunderous Dunks, and this is the very first episode of the Sunderous Dunks Podcast. How y'all doing? Man, it is a new era for the Phoenix Suns, and it feels like a weight has been lifted. Everyone's just flying around. Even the broadcasters and the media, everybody just is so happy. We got rid of the retirement home, and I had a little FOMO. I needed to get back in the mics and talk about this exciting young team we have. It's been so boring and depressing the last couple of seasons, but we have flipped the page and we finally have a great young team to root for, led by the amazing Devin Booker. Hopefully, going to be the best player in franchise history, and maybe one day put a ring on it. So it has been an amazing summer. Everyone was afraid of what was to come with the end of the Kevin Durant era. And, they brought in a whole new staff. They brought in Brian Gregory. And a lot of people didn't like the hire at first. They said this guy's just a Nepo hire by Matt Ishbia. They thought he didn't know ball. He'd never been in the NBA. But I like the hire from day one. I think Brian Gregory's worked his way up. He's saying all the right things. He showed he knows ball. And he's made the right moves so far. Anyone would have got rid of Bradley Beal. That was an easy decision. But the Kevin Durant trade was huge. A lot of people didn't like it at first. But I thought it was a great trade. I thought it was going to be the Rockets from day one. I thought Dylan Brooks would be part of it. We definitely needed a guy like that, and he needed to be part of the trade. I thought it might be Jabari Smith, but, the Rockets probably held firm on that. They wanted to do Green instead, and that's fine. I have a lot of hopes for Jalen Green. He was a leading scorer on the Rockets last year. I think he's going to be even better this year. And his fit with Devin Booker is a question mark. We'll see how that goes. But I think the sky is the limit. This is a very talented young player. And then, we got the 10th pick in the draft, which turned out to be Kaman Malawach. And no one thought he was going to be there at 10. Everyone said if this guy is there, which is probably not going to happen, it's pretty much a home run for the Suns. That was the guy they would take. And he ended up being there. We got really lucky. We also got a bunch of second-round picks. We turned some of those into Rasheer Fleming and Kobe Brea. So all three rookies this year, they came from that Kevin Durant trade. And so a lot of people didn't like the trade at first, but we got a pretty good haul for Kevin Durant with his age and all things considered. So I really liked the trade, and I think it set us up really well for both this year and in the future. The draft, that was obviously a big thing for Brian Gregory. I think he knocked it out of the park. Kaman Malawach at number 10, great pick. Pulling like 3 trades to get Rasheer Fleming, that was amazing. There were other teams trying to get him. He should have went a lot higher. And then getting Kobe Brea at 41, another guy who should have went a lot higher. One of the purest jump shots in the association. Pretty amazing. And then the really surprising thing was they traded for Mark Williams within like 30 seconds of drafting Kaman Malawach. And it really shocked a lot of people, but I think it was a great trade. We gave up a couple picks that are low in the first round, not going to amount to anything. And we got a guy that if he can stay healthy is a top 10 center in the NBA. So what is there not to like? Mark Williams, he has the highest standing reach in the NBA, 9 feet, 9 inches. Wemby, Gobert, a couple other guys are 2 inches shorter in the standing reach at 9 foot 7 inches. So we got the guy that stands the tallest, and hopefully he'll block some shots for us, play a lot of games, and be great for us. But one of the biggest acquisitions of the summer was Jordan Ott. This guy, I wasn't sure about him at first. I didn't know a lot about him, and it's become clear that he was the guy. Devin Booker signed off, and he's really shown us that he could turn out to be one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen. He really works hard. He's the first guy in the gym, last guy out of the gym. And it's really been amazing to see the work he's put in so far. And he just knows ball. And, his personality reminds me so much of Devin Booker, just a grinder, just someone who is just all about that life. And it's paid amazing dividends so far. I watched the preseason games, and it was just amazing from the very first game how aligned this team is, to use the term. They are just playing like a team from game one, and they have a whole new roster almost. More than half the roster is different. And last year, the year before, we were not playing like a team. Guys were lost. They didn't know what to do, and there was no cohesiveness at all. And now from game one, they're playing like a team. I don't know how that happened. Is Jordan Ott a magician? This is amazing. If this keeps on going, we are going to sneak up on a lot of teams this year, and we are going to make a lot of predictions look really foolish. I think the average prediction for the Suns is around 30, 31 wins. And, there are people out there like Bleacher Report and whoever saying 26 wins. Are you kidding me with that? Have y'all met Devin Booker? Have you met Jordan Ott? Have you met Dylan Brooks? This team is not winning 26 games. This team is not winning 30 games. They're going to win a lot more than that. You can take that to the bank, and that is the Sunderous Dunk for this episode. This team is better than people think. And I can't wait to see it, man. It is going to be so exciting. The preseason games were so fun to watch. I don't know if Kaman Malawach will play a lot this season. It's going to be hard, especially with, 4 centers on the team. And they probably will trade Nick Richards at some point. But watching Kaman in that 4th game against the Lakers was so fun. Man, he just is pure energy. And, he says tired is in the mind, and he shows it. This is just maybe the most fun guy I have ever seen. And I was a guy who liked DeAndre Ayton. I thought he was a fun player, but Kaman takes it to a whole new level. And he definitely seems to put in the work more than a guy like Ayton. Kaman is out there communicating. You don't see too many young guys that talk that much, and he's out there communicating a lot. And Oso is too. I'm really impressed with Oso. His communication seems to really be smart, know where to be, tell other guys where to be, and kind of taking a little bit of a leadership role, which I'm really surprised about for a second-year player. And so, I've really been going back and forth on who's going to be getting those center minutes behind Mark Williams, but it seems like it's going to be Oso first up. He has a little bit more of a skill set than guys like Nick Richards. The ceiling is a little bit higher for Oso. And they played him, they started him in the preseason, so they seem to be trying that out. But there's definitely some red flags with Oso. His shot is not quite there yet. The free throws are really bad. And, if he gets hacked a lot, we might have to take him out. But I think they're going to give Oso a chance. His passing is amazing. He helps the Suns get out in transition. And he seems to really know where to be. And that's really impressive. The Suns, they definitely have some question marks this season. The 2 big question marks are really Jalen Green and Mark Williams. We don't know how Jalen Green's fit is going to be with Devin Booker. A lot of people are questioning that. But I think it's going to be better than people think. I think both of these guys are going to have their best season ever. I'm not going to make exact stat predictions on this, but Devin Booker, it is time to lead, man. This is your team now. There's no more hiding behind Chris Paul, no more hiding behind Kevin Durant. We go as Devin Booker goes. I think he will average a career high in assists, but I don't want him to defer too much. I want to see him looking for his shot. Um, we know he likes to get everyone else involved, but let's see a career high in both scoring and assists. I think he can do it. And, get back to playing that defense that you played in the Olympics when guys like Steve Kerr were saying you're the glue behind that team, and you did all the little things and you played the defense. I know Booker can do it, so let's see it. And Jalen Green, he was a leading scorer on the Rockets last year, and he only averaged 22 points a game. I definitely think he can beat that easily this season, average a couple more points a game at least this season. And I think it's going to be great. We finally have a downhill threat. We've been so slow and methodical the last couple seasons, but we're going to be getting out in transition and finally have a guy like Jalen Green that can cut to the bucket. And it's going to be really exciting. We're going to see a lot more dunks this season, a lot more Sunderous dunks. K-Ray is going to be all over the mics this season with the boom room. It's just going to be crazy. They were doing a lot of alley-oops in the preseason and having guys like Kaman Malawach and Fleming and even, Dylan Brooks finishing. And it's looking really great. Dylan Brooks, what can we say about this guy, man? He might be one of the toughest guys in the NBA and one of the foremost intimidators that you not want to see. But then he's up there talking in the postgame about Labubus. What is this guy, man? This guy just is, he's a Renaissance man. He's a man's man. He just is everything. Dylan Brooks, we love you already, man. You are in the valley to stay, hopefully. Dylan Brooks, when I watched him in the preseason, I saw not only the toughness, I saw not only the guy that can hit 40% of his threes, but I saw a guy who knows where to be. I saw a guy who always makes the right pass, who always knows where to be to take the three-point shot, always knows where to be on defense. And this is exactly what we need. This is what we had from guys like Jay Crowder and Chris Paul when we went to the finals in 2021. And this is one of the reasons the Rockets were so good last year and were the 2 seed. They had Dylan Brooks, and he really raises the ceiling of the team, and they're going to miss him this year. I do not think the Rockets are as good as people think. I do not think they're going to be the 2 seed. I think they're going to be at least a few spots lower than that. I think there's a decent chance they could even be in the play-in, be like an 8 seed. I am not a believer in the Rockets. I think that's going to really fizzle. And I am so glad Kevin Durant is gone, man. This guy, he's crying on Twitter. He's crying on Netflix. Give me a break, man. Get out of here already. You're gone. You're a Rocket. Why are you still talking about the Suns, man? Get out of here. Kevin Durant did nothing for us, and I am glad he's gone. But it is a new era. Who cares about the old era? It is a new era Suns. And I can't wait, man. It is going to be so amazing. And, the sky is the limit for this team. It's going to be really interesting to see how the rookies do. Kobe Bryant still on the two-way. I think that will be the case for now. They want to leave that last roster spot open for flexibility. I thought they should have kept Jared Butler in that last roster spot because I don't think you're going to make any trades before December 15th anyway, when a lot of roster spots open and guys are tradable. So I didn't think they really needed to release Butler right now. I'm a little disappointed they did that after the Jared Butler legacy game, scoring 34 or whatever it was against the Lakers, almost had a triple-double. It's a little sad for Jared Butler. He is an NBA player. I hope he gets a spot in another roster. I think he will. But, I'm really glad they kept Jordan Goodwin. Sub-Zero. He was so fun last time he was around with the Suns. And he played well for the Lakers last year. Jordan Goodwin has improved. His 3-point shot is better. He's still bringing the steals, the toughness, that dog mentality on defense. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. That's one of the things we've really been missing the last couple seasons. We had no offensive rebounding to speak of. That was one of the nicest things in the preseason. Guys were crashing the glass like crazy. Another guy that was doing that was Nigel Hayes Davis. I'm not sure exactly where he fits into the rotation. I think he's going to be fighting with guys like Rasheer Fleming for probably like the ninth spot in the rotation. But if Nigel gets in there, one of the things he can do is crash the glass. He's a tough player. He's a vet. He knows ball. So I think he's going to get some minutes. But he's going to be fighting with Fleming. We'll see. Fleming looked really good. Fleming is a really long player, really tough, hard-nosed defense kind of guy we've been needing for years on the Suns. And so he'll definitely get his opportunities. He looked pretty good in the preseason. His offense is coming along. He made some 3-point shots. And we'll see how it goes with Fleming. But we've got a lot of options. His team is really deep. And it's going to be really great to see. Kobe Brea, he is still on that two-way. He didn't look great in the preseason, but I don't care that he missed his 3-point shot. Kobe Brea will knock down threes. We know that for sure. The thing that's going to keep him on the floor is everything else. And when I watched Brea, I thought he did everything else pretty well in the preseason. He looked like a guy who was tougher on defense than expected, a guy who knew where to be, a smart player. He really looked good in the passing game. He was really pushing the ball up the floor. He would get the steal. He would throw the ball up the floor for a layup. And he really looked like a guy who's really going to help our offense if he can get in there. So I don't know when Brea will see minutes for the big team. He's going to be on the Valley Suns a lot probably. But I can't wait to see more of Fuego when he does get in there. He's going to be great. But just, man, it is such a breath of fresh air for the team this year, man. I just can't wait to see it. And it's going to be an interesting first week of the season. We've got 2 games coming up. We've got the Kings and then the Clippers. The Kings, man, they are a mess. They are going to be one of the worst 2 or 3 teams in the Western Conference. We don't know if Sabonis is going to play that first game. If he misses, I think it's going to be a very easy win for the Suns. I think they're probably going to win regardless. But, man, if Sabonis misses a chunk of the season, the Kings could easily be the worst team in the league. I don't know what they are doing. Their point guards are Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook, unless Devin Carter does anything. I mean, talk about the retirement home. These guys are well past their prime. And then you have guys like DeRozan, Levine, that just are all offense. They play no defense. They've got some young talent with Keegan Murray, but he's had some health issues too. And I just am not a believer in the Kings at all. So I think the Suns will win that even without Jalen Green. I hope Green does not miss too many games. But Grayson Allen is ready to step into that starting role while Green misses. And Grayson looked great in the preseason, man. He was one of the best players, maybe even the MVP of the preseason. And he looked really good on both ends. He was getting out in transition. And so let's do a little quick stock report just from the preseason. Stock up, stock down. I think the stock up guys, I think Grayson Allen is a good guy to start with. He looked really good in the preseason. He's now going to be starting in game 1. Even when he doesn't start, he's going to be your 6th or 7th man. He's going to play good minutes. And Grayson needs to be good for this team, and he was great in the preseason. So I think stock up starts with him. I think the next stock up, you got to go with Colin Gillespie. And now we know he's Villain Jr. Dylan Brooks announced that. Colin Gillespie is Villain Jr. A lot of us thought that. Colin is a tough player. We saw it last year. Colin played really well in his minutes last year. A lot of people forget that. And he is coming this season. I think Colin could fight for some six man of the year votes. He's really an underrated player. I think he's going to be one of the really most improved players in the league this year. And when he did play in the preseason, he looked great. He's a very similar guy to Ty Jerome, and he really can fit in any roster and any lineup. He can do a little bit of it all. He's got a great 3-point shot. He's tough on defense. And just the sky's the limit for Colin Gillespie, man. I think he's going to be a revelation this year. And let's see. Who should we say for the third stock up? I'm going to go just with Jordan Ott, man. This guy, we didn't know how he would be as a first-year coach, but the cohesiveness the Suns played with was amazing in the preseason for a new team coming together. And, Jordan Knott, he just looks amazing so far coaching. So we'll see how that goes. Stock down. There weren't too many players that would be stocked down in the preseason because everybody looked pretty good. I think you got to start with Nigel Hayes Davis. His shot wasn't really there. He just didn't look complete. It's a little bit of a question whether he is an NBA player in a main rotation or whether he's just an end of the bench guy who's better in Europe. But we'll see. I still have faith in Nigel Hayes Davis, and I hope he does well. And I guess, the other stock down would be Kobe Bryant. His shot wasn't there. He missed the shots. But like I said, he looked like he was in the right place. He made great passes. So I think Kobe will be all right. And the other stock downs would just be the guys who didn't play. Jalen Green and Mark Williams. A little bit of a stock down just for not playing. But Mark Williams, they're taking it very easy with him. They're trying to get him healthy for game one. And so I hope that he plays against the Kings. I think he will, hopefully. They're probably going to limit him, especially in game one, to 25 minutes or even less. So I think Oso will play quite a bit in game one. And you might see a little bit of Nick Richards or even Malwatch in game one, especially if the game is not close. But I think they're going to take care of the Kings very easily, hopefully. And then the second game is going to be against the Clippers. And that's going to be a fun one. You want to talk about a real retirement home. They've got Chris Paul. They've got Nicholas Batum. They've got Brooke Lopez. They've got the cadaver that used to be called Bradley Beal. This Clippers team, a lot of people are calling them a top 3 or 4 seed. I don't see it, man. I do not see it with the Clippers. I think they're going to be in the play-in like an 8 or 9 seed. Could be even worse. I think they're really overrated. All these guys are past their prime, and it's going to depend on what happens with Harden and Kawhi. Kawhi's contract could get voided later in the season, something like that. Pablo Torres' reporting has been amazing on the whole aspiration thing. But even if Kawhi plays, 80 games, I think the Clippers are super overrated. I think both of the LA teams are in for a rude awakening this year. I do not think the Lakers will make even the play-in. I think the Lakers are going to be 11 or 12 seed. DeAndre Ayton is really going to pull down that team. LeBron's going to miss time. Luka's lost a lot of weight, but man, the Lakers, they're not the deepest team, and they are very overrated. I think the team that people are underrating the most is the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of people say the Spurs are going to be like a 10 seed again. I don't see that at all. I think the Spurs are going to be top 6. And I hate to say this, the Spurs are still my most hated team, my biggest rival. But Wembanyama's here, man. And they have some other good talent as well. I have them as like a 5 seed this year. The Spurs are going to be tough. But who else is going to be tough? That is the Phoenix Suns. And this is kind of where we'll end this episode. I think the Suns are going to sneak up on people. They're not only going to be in the play-in mix, but I'm going to say they win mid 40s, around 46 games, and they get that 6th seed right behind the Spurs. I think the Suns are going to surprise. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. And it's going to be so fun to watch, man. This new era Suns. I just can't wait. It's such a breath of fresh air. Everyone is so excited. And it's just great to be back here on the mics with y'all. So I hope y'all will listen to my episodes. And let's go, Suns. Let's have a great year. Peace out. Suns up.